Labor and Social Development, chaired the track, and the country director, Care International, assisted, and the IFAD was the anchoring agency. And lastly, the action track number 5 was on building resiliency to vulnerabilities, shocks, and stresses. And the Ministry of Local Government took a lead, assisted by OPM. And then WFP was the anchoring agency. So this, discussed a lot of important issues about our food systems in this country, and that's where the pathways that, and national pathways and commitments were actually built. So, in order for us to have a transformed our food system, there was need to do the strategic analysis. First of all, you know very well that the NDP3 is coming to an end, and at the moment we are having NDP4 being prepared, and already I think the strategic activities have been identified. So in order to ensure that the that the activities are included in the NDP4, and also to have the to ensure the feasibility of Ugandan commitments, there was the establishment of the Food Systems Transformation Action Plan by government. So this creation required now the strategic analysis of the 4 important areas, the 3 important areas. First of all, the policy, legal, and institutional frameworks, the human resource capacity, and then the finance and budgetary aspects which are surrounding food systems. We believe that these 3 areas are very, very important when it comes to transforming food systems. And what should actually be done in each of these areas? What key game changers are required, so that the food system can be transformed? So that was the justification for the strategic analysis. So the objectives definitely were centered on those 3 activities. So we had to conduct analysis in each of those 3 areas. Okay, the approach that was used was such that each of those 3 areas, there was a lead MDA that was, appointed by the National Food Systems Coordination Committee. For example, the strategic thematic area on policy, regulatory, and institutional frameworks was actually led by Minister of Agriculture. And then the human resource architecture was led by Minister of Public Service. And then budget, financing, and social mobilization, National Planning Authority took a lead. But overall, coordination was done by OPM. So the 3 consultants which I've shown there undertook a number of activities in order to come up with a strategic analysis. First of all, there was a comprehensive literature review, to establish what has been published on each of these 3 areas to compare with the current situation. And then there was stakeholder mapping and engagements to find out who should actually be interviewed, who should provide the relevant information about each of these areas. So these included the public, private, and of course, the UN agencies, and even beyond Uganda, where we interviewed people from COMESA and the African Union. How have they actually achieved the food systems transformation? Then there were consultative meetings which were conducted both at national and the regional levels. When I talk about regional levels, I mean the East, Central, South, and Northern Uganda. So we went to all those regions and obtained the information from stakeholders, right from the grassroots, the local governments, and they provided us with very good ideas, which we now synthesized later. We also had best practices and case studies to compare with what exactly is existing. And then we had to summarize the information, most of which was actually qualitative. So we had to do a lot of triangulation to get meaningful information out of it. And then each of the consultants came up with a full report. And afterwards, we consolidated the 3 reports into one, a very summary, which actually talks about the key game changers, which I'm going to present right now. I was given 10 minutes to present this, but Father Chairman, I don't know whether you allow me to continue. So these the game changers that I'm going to show you, are based on the 5 action tracks. So each of the game changers, had policies, which policies should be done, what should be done in terms of the human, capacity, in terms of financing, and then the outcomes that we achieved. So when we consider action track number 1, access to safe and nutritious food for all, we feel that there's a need to strengthen the food safety and quality control systems. If it is not safe, it is not food. Meaning that once food safety is not addressed, we don't have food systems at all. So in there, we talk about several issues that are supposed to be, emphasized from the legal, from the policy, from the institutional framework point of view, and also from the human resource and the money. We need to develop improved food-based commodity markets at the district level to harness productivity and competitiveness. We are seeing now markets being, built, well-organized markets at the, for example, in most of these urban areas. What about at the district level? Our people are, finding difficulties supplying, good goods to clear markets, so they cannot be actually, they cannot compete, and in that way, access, to food, good food becomes a problem. There's need to upscale irrigation-based food production systems at the national and district level. Ladies and gentlemen, you know very well that our agriculture is rain-fed. Once once there's no rain, means that the crop actually fails completely. And by the way, last year I was confused because there was excessive rainfall, and the farmers in my area where I come from went to church to pray for rain to stop so that they could dry their produce. I got confused. But all that we are talking about is that we need to have irrigation systems in place so that in case of drought, we have actually continuous crop being produced. There's a need to I think, digitalize actually the extension services, e-extension services, very, very important. We have got the digital systems in place, but they are insufficient. We need to scale them up so that the communication becomes easier. The extension staff can communicate to farmers what is exactly happening and what they are supposed to do using these phones and using these social media. Scale up supply, consumption, and monitoring of fortified, and biofortified foods. The issue of micronutrients. If you are to access, nutritious food, I think this issue of both the industrial fortification and the biofortification are very, very important to enhance, these foods. We need to increase the consumption of fresh fruits and vegetables. I think this was talked about, this morning. These are very, very good sources of micronutrients. And then institute a price control mechanism to allow access, everybody to have at least access to high, nutritional value food, which is very, very important. So action track number 2, shift to sustainable consumption patterns. How do we do that? It is important that there's a need to implement government-led country-wide homegrown school feeding program. We realize that even this morning it was talked about, school feeding is very, very important. And the nature of the food that actually our children eat, quite insufficient. Many of them drop out, many of them perform badly because of that. So if there's supposed to be sustainable consumption in schools, I think this program would be actually very, very good, where parents actually take the lead in feeding our children. Promote consumption of fresh fruits and vegetables also comes in. We should not only produce them, but we should consume them. If you look at the areas, around Kampala where these fresh fruits and vegetables come from, they are just grown specifically for the market. They just grow nakati, deliver to the market without consuming it at home. So I think there's need for those campaigns people to know that actually consumption is very, very important. Empower consumers to make informed choices in the consumption of healthy diets. This one was discussed this morning, about the sodas, the what, the kind of diets that we are actually consuming. I think the consumers need to be empowered by information, etc. And then there's need to promote adoption and uptake of improved post-harvest technologies that mitigate losses. If we have food losses, definitely the availability of food will not be, sustainable. And then, of course, food waste. Also, there are people who are wasting food. I'm sure this afternoon, when we are having our lunch, many of you left food on your place. Why did you put it there anyway? So, okay, to boost nature positive production. Um, it is very, very important that our biodiversity is maintained, which we are proud of. And one way is to promote climate smart agriculture. This country is is having a very big project on this, climate smart agriculture. But is it, addressing all the challenges that our farmers are facing? Is it everywhere? I think there's need for, scaling it up. And then when it comes to genetic resources, in here we are recommending mainly, emphasis on our indigenous seed. Our indigenous crops are disappearing, and yet they used to be very, very good in terms of nutrients and also in terms of, being resilient to effects of climate change. We need to protect, manage, and restore our water resources and catchment areas. One of the biggest challenges of irrigation systems is that people fail to get good sources of water because we don't have very good water resources and catchment areas. So I think this is important. Then we need to scale up community-based reforestation, planting trees, greening Uganda, very, very important. And I think this campaign is almost all over everywhere. At least plant a tree each day so that we can now, return the trees, which are very, very important in terms of managing the greenhouse emissions. Promote regenerative agriculture. So by regenerative agriculture, I mean agriculture that helps the soils, and the ecosystem to rejuvenate, and then you have, sustainable, production. So this is very, very important for us to do. And there are definitely the legal aspects of it, the policies which need to be improved, and then what should be done in terms of humanity, being especially the extension, workers. Okay. Second last is the advanced equitable livelihoods. We need to expand, the scope and coverage of care, support, and social protection for all categories of people. Nobody should actually be left behind, especially the vulnerables, like the children, the sick, the elderly, and the marginalized people. I think all this actually needs to be, done. And I'm sure Minister of Gender knows very well what I'm actually talking about. But we need to promote women's economic empowerment, leadership, and ownership of agricultural resources. Do they actually own land? What are they owning? Produce and go. Yeah, so all those policies which are in there have to be looked into, and then they require the money. We need to enhance community mobilization and mindset change for the sustainable agriculture development. The mindset change actually is very, very important. People are aware of the need for sustainable agriculture development. They're just doing anything that they want. Then promote national insurance schemes in health, agriculture, and education. Very, very important. The insurance is very, very important. And should there be actually challenges, in agriculture, I think the insurance can come in and help our farmers, especially the smallholder farmers. And then we need to increase smallholder access to agriculture, credit and financing, because they need the money, continuous, access to money in order for them to continue producing very well. Action plan number 5 is about building resiliency to vulnerabilities, shocks and stresses. And in here, we're talking about increasing production of climate change resilient crop varieties, especially our indigenous varieties. So the recommendations in there come, along the issues of what should NARO do what should the zonal, the zonal agricultural, production and the research areas do. And then, of course, the emphasis, as I said, being put on our indigenous, varieties, both actually crops and the animals. There is a need first to establishment of national food reserves and buffer stock system. We don't have, national reserves here. And I think this should go even up to district level, at least regional levels, where we can keep food. That should there be a shock or a stress, food can easily be accessed, and then people don't actually suffer. Right now we're depending on WFP and the other relief agencies to help us. We need to decentralize, disaster emergency response and early warning systems. In here, there are so many activities that we recommended, including of course, FIVISM, which are very, very important. That at the district level, people cannot tell, they don't have any early warning systems, to tell that some of these disasters are actually coming. And then, of course, we need to provide incentives to farmers, especially those who are in groups and cooperatives, so that they can actually mitigate the effects of these shocks and stressors. So we feel that out of the so many, recommendations, out of the so many game changers, these are actually very, very important. If at least these could be included in the NDP4, they could actually help us to, at least to some extent, address the issues of the commitments that were actually done. So in conclusion, I believe that the food systems transformation provides definitely important foundation for accelerating sustainable, development in this country. And the, capabilities have not been properly harnessed to deliver sustainable food systems, nutritional outcomes. Very, very important indeed. And going forward, we need to, to stop joking. The business as usual should actually stop. And then definitely these game changers should be incorporated within the NDP4 programs, provide the, opportunities, new opportunities to strategically position the food systems approach in the national development agenda. Thank you very much. I thank very much FAO for funding this activity, and the Office of the Prime Minister and other coordinators for the proper coordination. Thank you very much.
Let's again thank Professor Achileo Kaya for the presentation. I learned one word, one phrase that I will be using. If it's not safe, it's not good. I would like to welcome Dr. Tugume Joab. He's going to talk about passive pest surveillance, expert working groups, and digital tools, the future of pest surveillance in Uganda. Dr. Joab. I have given it to the yes, they are. Okay. Is Secretariat, is his presentation ready? Okay, it is ready. So we okay.
Thank you very much. My name is Joab Tugume. I'm a senior agriculture inspector from MAIF. I'm happy to be talking about this important subject of food security and nutrition. Please scroll. My presentation will be talking about the background pests and diseases of crops and food security, national pest surveillance and emergency response framework, passive surveillance and expert working groups, success stories of pest surveillance and responses, key actionable recommendations and conclusions. Colleagues, we have about four dimensions of food security. We have the availability, access, and utilization. But below them, we have the safety dimension. Pests and diseases have capacity to disrupt all the dimensions of food security. And this reminds me sometime back when a preacher made his presentation and was like, what you think is very important to you, it can disappear overnight. So pests and diseases have capacity to disrupt our food systems and actually cause food insecurity and nutritional security. Next. Allow me give you a few highlights of the pests that have entered Uganda and had impact. Almost there is no crop that has not been spared. All of us remember banana bacterial wilt in 2001, coffee wilt also 2001, and many others as projected. You would note these have affected incomes, they have affected food security. Definitely, sometimes if you don't have income, you can also not access food. So next. Next. So there are much more pests and diseases. Some are affecting our aquaculture systems. Others are affecting our regents. For example, we have a weed called Parthenium, which most of you will move around and see it on the roads, but has capacity to disrupt the beef and dairy industry by reducing the pastures. Next. Economics tend to talk about a basket of goods. And most of us, when we go to the market, these are some of the food items we tend to correct. But look on the side, pests and diseases are having effects on these ones. Tomatoes, cassava. We have even a new disease of bananas that is in Congo, but has recently entered Uganda through Kasese and West Nile districts. That has capacity to decimate banana production in Uganda. Most of you now know that, for example, sometime back, you used to go to the market and come with a basket of tomatoes. But recently, one tomato is almost costing 1,000 shillings. That is because we have new pests like Tuta absoluta that are actually disrupting tomato production. Most of you have bought mangoes in the market. We have issues of fruit flies, where you buy the mangoes and you can't eat them. This is just a small snapshot of how pests and diseases are affecting our food systems, but sometimes they are often neglected when we are talking about issues of food and nutritional security. We have much more pests also on the horizon, like tropical race4, Xylella fastidiosa, to mention but a few. What is the strategic position of the Department of Crop Protection, where I come from? The Department of Crop Inspection and Certification touches two main areas. It touches production and also the other part of marketing, market access. We are meant to safeguard our agricultural production from external pests and diseases because of their effects. Also, these pests affect market access and therefore our produce then end up not accessing the markets. Example is a pest called forest coddling moth that has disrupted our markets in Europe. What that means is that a farmer depending on that product, that crop for income, his income is reduced. We all know that we don't produce what we eat. That means some of it we have to access through the market. So reduction in income has a direct impact also on our nutritional security. Next. How are we looking at safeguarding our crops? As a ministry, as a department, we have come up with a national pest surveillance and notification and emergency response framework and plan. And in this, we are aiming at strengthening coordination of plant pest surveillance activities and reporting by taking advantage of diversified communication channels and modern IT tools. We also aim to strengthen human resource capacity to conduct surveillance through collaboration with other departments of government, NARO, academia, and private sector through what we call expert working groups. We have a lot of experts in the country, but in most cases, each one of us have been working in isolation, and information arising from our research is often not shared, which complicates pest management. Also, hope to strengthen systems for emergency pest response by leveraging on partners, advocating for creation of a special fund for pest surveillance and response. Most often, when a new pest attacks, it should also be considered as an emergency, but most often as a department, we often don't have resources to respond promptly. Allow me to talk about passive surveillance and expert working groups and digital tools. Experts, really it is me and you, drawn from academia, the different people who are working on these issues of pests and diseases. When I talk about passive surveillance, I'm trying to mean surveillance that is not official. Each one of us somehow interacts with crops and sees strange things, pests and diseases, but often you don't report. But those are the major sources of information on new pests and diseases. So when we talk about strengthening pest surveillance, passive surveillance, we are looking at tapping at all possibilities that of communities helping in reporting pests and diseases. So passive surveillance involves community surveillance. We also have plant clinics, pest reports from researchers, pest reports from extension of workers, and media. As far as official surveillance, we normally do specific surveys, monitoring surveys, and delimiting surveys. When we talk about official surveillance, it means it is the ministry and specifically the Department of Crop Inspection and Certification, which is the National Plant Protection Organization that is doing surveillance. But we are lean, so we have to rely on other stakeholders to make sure that we promptly report pests. So once all the information comes in, experts should be able to validate it and report the pests promptly. What is the work of the pest expert working groups? To develop survey plans and participate in pest survey and report mapping, analyze pests and compile reports, validating the reports, and supporting pest risk analysis, developing survey manuals and diagnostics, supporting development of pest eradication and strategies for priority pests and mobilizing resources. We don't need to wait for pests to come. Pests should find us when we are prepared. So the work of the expert working groups should be reported through National Technical Working Group on preparedness and early response and coordination. That's where the Office of the Prime Minister would also be helpful if pests and diseases are considered disasters. Next. Allow me to talk about a few success stories of where we have worked together and we are seeing progress. I talked about media. Media is also important in reporting pests and diseases, such that all stakeholders start doing action. Next. Next. So in 2013, a new pest of maize was reported called maize lethal necrosis. But we've been working with the different stakeholders to monitor the incidences in the field. As you can note, in 2016, we had the incidences of 27%. In 2018, we had 60.5%. In 2019, it was reduced, and now, through the efforts of different stakeholders, in 2013, it is at 12.5%. But what was key is that when this disease came, the stakeholders came together, the experts came together and came up with a strategy for managing the disease. We have a new disease, banana bunch top virus, and there what I'm showing is the risk. Green is the major banana growing area. The orange is where banana is less grown, but you note that the disease is confirmed in Kasese and is now a major risk to major banana growing areas. Through expert working groups, we came together, did what we call a limiting survey, and still found that the disease is still confined in West Nile and Kasese districts. Next. Through our work of pest surveillance, we have found that pests and diseases do not know borders, but also the border communities are imaginary. They are always exchanging planting materials, which increases the risk of spread and introduction of new diseases. Also, we note that civil wars, the wars in Congo also contribute because when people are being displaced, they tend to go along with their animals, plants, and some of those plants can be sick. So OPM in your preparedness refugees involve MAIF. Again, community sensitization and awareness is key when we are looking at tackling new pests and diseases. Next. Again, no one should be left behind when it comes to pests, pest reporting. That's why we are talking about the emphasis of passive surveillance. Through our work, we found that secondary school children can be even primary, they are very keen, they know what is going on in their community, and they are very instrumental in pest reporting. Next. Actionable recommendations. We need collaboration and partnership in pest surveillance and response to pest incursions, and the involvement of the community and other partners is important to achieve leverage. We need proper coordination of pest surveillance and response efforts. We need a crop pests and disease desk, if possible, at OPM. I'm not aware if it is there. If it was there, I think I should know. We need a national pest information system where information on pests and diseases can be received. We are working with partners like Plant Village to set up what we call a pest monitoring through computers. We are calling it a pest observatory. It will be based at our quarantine facility in Namarere. We need a national emergency response and pest eradication programs. We have pest eradication programs in Ministry of Health. We have pest vaccination programs in animal, but we have not had a pest eradication program in the Ministry of Agriculture. Next. Yeah, I thank all our collaborators who have allowed us to do this work. Thank you very much.
Let's again thank Dr. Mugume for the presentation. Well done. I have learned that the pests have no boundaries. We can get them anytime. And I've also learned that as we chase them away or we survey, we should leave no one behind. All of us must participate. We are left with one presenter to complete this session unless Mr. Brian Ogenroth appears. He's not here. So now let me invite our last presenter, Mrs. Julia Amara. She's going to talk about contributions of water and environment to nutrition and food security in Uganda. Most welcome. Let us welcome Mrs. Julia.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I am happy to be here and I'm happy to see all of you, especially the people from the local governments, because I'm proud a Ugandan who has worked in all the local governments. If I have not been to your local government, I have been to your mother local government. So I'm called the Julia Billiard. I work with the Ministry of Water and Environment. The background is sociology, but I'm a focal point officer for nutrition. They have told you what I'm going to say, but ideally the vision of our ministry is sound management and sustainable utilization of water and environment resource for the betterment of the populations of Uganda. We have our mission to promote and ensure the rational and sustainable utilization, development, and effective management of water and environment resource for socio-economic development of this country. Under the UNEP too, maybe I will give you a background that towards Corona there, that's when the ministry was invited to start working on UNEP and nutrition. And so when we went to Corona, we had only had one meeting as a ministry that you have to start ministreaming, and then we went for Corona. So from there to date, we are really busy working. So MWE is expected to provide quality assurance, increase access to nutrition-sensitive water, sanitation and hygiene, and water for food system services at all levels. Next. I will go straight to the wait a minute. I will go, let me use this. I will go straight to that goal for UNEP. Everybody has talked about the goal for UNEP, so I think I should not go to that goal. I should go straight to the objectives of our ministry, which are aligned with the NDP 3 and aligned with UNAP is to increase access and utilization of nutrition-sensitive water for agriculture production services. As you are told, Ministry of Agriculture is doing some work on water for production, and Ministry of Water is doing some work on water for production. So the second one is to increase access to and utilization of nutrition-sensitive wash services. And then we have to strengthen the enabling environment. Next. Under food systems, Professor Kaya has talked of food systems and participated in the summit. And this summit for us were track number 3, boosting nature positive production. And under that goal, the ministry is to boost the nature positive production system at all scale to globally meet the fundamental human rights to health and nutrition food, nutritious food, while operating within the parameters of the boundaries. And under that, we are supposed to protect, manage, sustainably manage, and restore or rehabilitate. Under protection, yes, we are protecting the environment, we are managing it, and we are restoring, as you will be seeing. So now, what are our contributions? Our ministry mainly has engineers. So explaining to them our contribution is equally explaining to everybody how does water contribute, what do we do to contribute to the environment, or what are our mandate to contribute to environment. One time I had this presentation to people from Nigeria. An old man came and said, when this lady stood up to talk, I was like, what is she talking about? Because he's an engineer. But eventually, after realizing he saw that we had a lot of things to contribute as the ministry to nutrition. One, of course, safe and clean water is essential for all the body system processes. We say water is life. And of course, water being life, we all need that life. I can see we have a lot of water in front of us, and I would request as I talk, you take a sip and you enjoy that life. So water is the most nutritious food. It is the most nutritious food in this world. You can eat anything, you can eat greens, but water is the most nutritious food. Promote agroforestry. We have a department in charge of agroforestry, forestry. So we provide those fruits when we are giving you seedlings. We give you seedlings of both the trees and the ones for fruits. And those fruits have various vitamins. They have essential oils that are needed in your human body. You need those fruits for that oil. For the ladies, normally they tell you to eat avocado so that your skin is nice. The trees also, bring it back. The trees also support rain. Here I was on food, here I'm on climate change. They support the rain, they hold the soils, and they are for fuel. If a woman has fuel, they will cook for their children. They are improving their nutrition. We have also water for irrigation, and this water for irrigation directly boosts nature also, and directly contributes to nutrition. Someone here talked of people going to the wetland, but they go to the wetland to look for water. But if we had irrigation systems on mainland, maybe they wouldn't go to the wetlands. They would just have their agricultural products on the land, not in the wetland. Next. Water for production also promotes growth of pasture that is essential for animals. Our animals need pasture, and that water for production does that. The healthy animals provide protein vital for humans. We have hand washing. We also do hand washing. This hand washing allows the body to remain healthy, allows the body to utilize the food substance available to eat. If you wash your hands, you don't have germs, definitely the food will be utilized very well. We do also protecting lakes and wetlands, and you all know that if we protect catchment areas, we shall not have floods, but also we have the marine protein. Everyone here, most people enjoy the fish, catfish, mudfish, whichever type of fish. So once we protect, we find them there. Next. Yeah, we provide sanitary facilities, and these sanitary facilities normally we construct when we work in a town. For example, Butareja, we work in that town, we provide lined pit or waterborne, and these waterborne can be in institutions or in schools. This is a shared responsibility between the Ministry of Water and Environment, Ministry of Education, and Ministry of Health. It is a shared responsibility. So we promote good sanitation and hygiene. We produce exposure of fecal matter to water and food. We have created a department called Sewage Services Department, and this department, we are doing a lot in terms of constructing, first of all, the sites where to dump. We give the fecal sludge trucks, and also we make sure that we sensitize people about that, because ideally we would go to a small town, and when you go to a small town, you put a water supply system, immediately people would start constructing septic tanks. But eventually, where would they take? They don't know. So that's when we started doing that activity and ensuring that at least we sensitize them and tell them where to go. And the challenge we had there is that most of the people had pit latrines. And when you bring this truck, they would collapse. So we have now work of sensitizing our people to have lined pits or septic tanks. We have all those messages that we move around with sanitation marketing, and at least we have officers in every region who are doing that. We have water quality monitoring. We do water quality monitoring, and this water quality monitoring will ensure that quality, clean, and safe water is given to you at all times for our bodies. And also, the reason why we do that, when you have clean quality water, you monitor it and it is quality, your body will do what? You drink good water and you have good digestion. We do also women empowerment. We empower women with the charcoal saving stoves. We teach them how to do that. We also teach them to make stoves. And ideally, a woman that has some little money, it is a matter of telling her, buy an egg for your child. But the money will be there after empowering. Next. Water quality monitoring, I think I've repeated that. Next. Yes. I told you we restore, we sustainably manage, and here it is what we do, restoring. You can see up, we are restoring, down we are giving out seedlings. The other side, we are also promoting that type of bamboo. You know, bamboo is both for climate, catching the soil, but also you can eat it. You can eat bamboo shoots, the people in Mbale can enjoy, but also we have realized that this youngest bamboo, when you chop it, when it is still young, still you can get good food there. Next. Here we are protecting the wetland. Sometimes people want to go beyond that mark, but that mark means don't go beyond 20 meters out of the lake, don't go. The other side there we are protecting. In Kabale, we used to have a lot of terraces, but as I talk now, they are a little bit few, and as you can see here, we are again telling them that you need those terraces back. Then the other side is gabion protection. You are also protecting the soils not to just run away downstream. Yes, now we go to what, this is Dokoro. This is Dokoro water supply system. We commissioned it and people now are enjoying safe and clean water. The other side is the track we are giving out for fecal sludge. Then down is irrigation. We are doing small scale and medium irrigation. Next. Here we are empowering the women with support from ADB, African Development Bank. We are supporting those women and we are teaching them. A woman who knows that the charcoal stoves takes little charcoal, quickly they will cook for their children. They will use little charcoal, but they cook for their children. There you have empowered them with the money, they can buy an egg for their children. Next. This picture shows how technology can support producing more from less. We are not destroying the environment. You are getting a lot, but from less land. Come again, next. Now, the challenges. We can't be there without challenges. The first challenge is land degradation. The next challenge is high levels of urbanization. Everyone wants to come to urban. Then we have influx of refugees. They also impact on our land. We have to give them land because they are here with us. They are not going anywhere. We have climate change as an effect of all that. We have land tenure system where you find people in wetland and someone tells you, I have a title. So what do? Next. So increased demand for wood and other forestry products like charcoal, timber production, and non-wood has also become a serious challenge. You have seen on TV some people being chased from Guru. They were destroying the environment, the trees, they were cutting down the trees. We have conversion of forests into public land. People are turning forests into agricultural land, into factories, into grazing, and when they are grazing, they first cut the trees. We have high electricity tariff, which makes forest a cheaper source of wood for domestic and industrial use. Yes, someone has clapped, thank you. We have population pressure, that one you all know. Inadequate funding for eviction. Do you know it is not easy to evict someone? If someone has stayed there for over 5 years, you have to pay them. So the money is not enough to evict people, because if you evict them, you pay them. Then we have limited personnel to manage the different natural resources. These natural resources, where they are, we have environmental police, but this environmental police is not everywhere. If I ask someone in Kabale, do you know where the environmental police is? They don't know. If you ask someone where, but we have them, but they are limited. Then we have expensive technologies to ensure universal coverage of water supply. The technologies are very expensive. For example, personally, if you asked me that water which runs from Karamoja and goes to Tesoland and destroys all those crops, if we had like a mega dam crossing from Kaperabyong down to Napak, one, it would help to the cattle wrestlers would not cross. 2, they would have water for their cows. 3, they would have a multi-purpose. It would be a multi-purpose. You put their fish, they have food. So if I had money, and the chairman is looking at me, it would be a mega one, which is like a real lake from Kaperabyong down to. So conflict management, you finished it, you have finished food, you have protected the people, everything would be incorporated in that nutrition sensitive dam. We have depleted and aging infrastructure. Infrastructure is aging every day, and it needs money. It needs money, which money is limited. Next. We have planned activities. We are not sleeping. We are not sleeping with this nutrition. We are planning activities. We developed, as a ministry, we developed a nutrition mainstreaming strategy. It was launched during the Water Week of March, and with the support from UNICEF, we are planning to go ahead and disseminate at regional levels. I don't know whether Madam Nelly is here. Madam President of Nutrition, please stand up and you deserve a hand clap. She's the president of nutrition in Uganda and she has supported me. No wonder they chose her to be the president. We are trying to appoint desk officers at regional level because most of our offices, we have the headquarters Ruzira, but also at regional level, we have the concentrated, we have offices. So we are planning to have desk officers for nutrition who would be feeding me and then I feed the OPM with information and work. Then we have also appointed, you have rushed several. We have also appointed the key staff to plan specifically for nutrition. We need it to be incorporated in water, not construction, not gender mainstreaming, not HIV, but also nutrition. We have included the nutrition program in the community engagement. We are developing a community engagement which is underway. We have to make sure that it has nutrition as part of it. Next. And next, not that one. We are developing, as I talk now, we have a strategy, but we are developing a training manual so that we can go and train the people on ground with still support from UNICEF. We are planning to start awareness campaigns at departmental level. So far I have an appointment for the regulation department. We are planning to have a breastfeeding corner. This one, thank you ladies for clapping. This was a gift from our PS during the Women's Day of last year. So that nutrition, that corner for breastfeeding adjacent, we are going also to construct a gym. We also still have people with the obese, who are obese in the ministry. So we are going to have the gym also. Now, this one is very serious. We are planning to have environmental court. During this water week, we invited the chief judge, and he promised us to have environmental court. You do anything on environment, you have a specific court for you to judge you properly. Next. Now, opportunities. We have opportunities. We have the legal and policy framework in place. We have developed the strategy which will guide us. We have a multi-sector approach led by the OPM. We have the political will because my minister, Honorable Samu Cheptoris, has already appended a signature on the strategy, meaning that he supports me. My other ministers, state ministers, Mama Mabira is already there with me, and Madam Aisha Sechindi, they are all supporting me, seriously. Then the MWE strategy, for those who would want to see more about that strategy I'm talking about, you can Google www.mwe.go.ug. You will find there the strategy. Next. Next. Now, all of these are the materials I developed with the support from UNICEF that I used during the launch. But the people have supported me, as you can see, OPM. I think I forgot Maif. Please write Maif there. Yes, please add Maif. UNICEF, NPA, Mr. Bgenje, where are you? We can also clap for Bgenje. He gave me a serious support. We have Minister of Health, Madam Samale. I saw her here. Claps for Madam Samale. Minister of Local Government. Let me see, where is Sam Gadiwang? But I have support from local government here in Kampala and specific. Then we have a Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development. He's here, Evarist. Can we clap for Evarist? We have Minister of Education. Where is Amos? He has gone. We have KCCA and others. If I have forgotten you, please just forgive me. You know that I was excited. So before I conclude, I want to leave you with a quote. And that quote is from Julia Child. But that Julia Child is not me. It's a writer and a food scientist in America. She said, water is the most neglected nutrient in your diet, but one of the most vital. You neglect that water, but it's the most vital. Can we take some water, more water, please? Let us take more water. Let us take more water. So I thank you so much for listening, and I request all of you, I know the local governments, we shall be coming to your districts. I will be available, we shall be available, please support us. We still need this support because we are young in the nutrition and food systems. Thank you so much for listening. God bless you.
I was planning to ask you to do an energizer, but she has done it. We don't need another one. Thank you so much. Let's clap for her again. Julia, thank you so much. Now, this quote is from Julia, this one, not from the other author. This one says, safe and clean water is the most nutritious food. That is your quote. Thank you so much for your presentation. Now I beg for your indulgence. I need only 25 minutes. And I'm going to use these 25 minutes as follows. I would like to invite Mr. Grace Bwenje, who is going to moderate the panel session. Is Mr. Grace Bwenje around? Yes, please come forward. And then I would like to invite the following again. Some of you are going to be repeated. Professor Charles Muyanja, please come forward. Professor Achille Okaya, Mrs. Margaret Athieno Mwebesa, Dr. Barbara Zawede, and Mr. Mutiaba Godfrey. I see only three. Where are the others? Anyone missing? Professor Charles Mutiaba. Professor Mutiaba Wadi? Yes, he's around. Okay, good. Tenywa Emmanuel is representing Mrs. Margaret Mwebesa. I think we have a full house. So I'd like to invite Mr. Bwenje to come and moderate this session, of course, by firing them questions.
Thank you very much. As introduced, I'm called Grace Bwenje, and I work. He's telling me I have a very short time here. I'm called Grace Bwenje. I plan for agriculture at the National Planning Authority. My panelists, I don't have so much time, as you've known, and I'll begin with Dr. Barbara Zawede. You work for NARO, and in the National Development Plan theory, we identified that we want to upscale biofortification and also to increase the multiplication of these technologies that were actually on your shelves, beans, cassava and all that. And then what have you done to ensure that? You just have like 2 minutes? Okay, 3.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. As NARO, most of what we have done has actually been shared by our line ministry, but I will emphasize what we have done. One is to develop biofortified products of beans, maize, sweet potato, millet, bananas, and I invite you to visit our stall downstairs and you have a look at what we have done so that you learn more on what we are doing, since I have a very short time. But we have also used modern biosciences to make sure that we manage some of the pests and diseases and other emerging issues that are affecting our agriculture in this country. We are using new breeding techniques to make sure that whatever we can't solve using our conventional methods, we use the modern breeding techniques to solve them. And some of the pests that were mentioned from the phytosanitary department are what we are actually using modern biosciences to address. I don't want to forget the fact that because of climate change, we are now going back to some of our foods that we had forgotten to support food diversity. So we are working with indigenous vegetables. We are working with local chicken. Today, someone was asking me what is the difference between indigenous and locally adapted. So we shall use the word locally adapted because sometimes these are introduced, but because they've stayed here for long, we go to calling them indigenous. But we have our local chicken, which we know, first of all, because we manage it in a semi-intensive or free range, we do not use a lot of the modern or synthetic concentrates. And as a result, we get more of them consuming the grains, consuming the nutrients that are in our soils, and they take longer, but they are more nutritious than some of the exotics we are consuming. We have the dairy cattle that was mentioned by our line ministry. We have the goats. We have brought in some of the breeds that we know are climate resilient. For example, the Kalahari goat, to promote it here and to improve our breeds by crossing them with this goat breed. We have the fish proteins, for example, the Nile perch, the Nile tilapia, which we know is a domestic fish in our Lake Victoria. We have the Angara and the pelagic fish like Mokene, Nang Nang. We are not only multiplying them, but also making sure that we add value to them so that they can reach our people and they consume it and they get the nutrients.
Okay.
And we are not stopping on that, but we are also supporting industry. We are supporting industry by doing nutrient profiling to know whatever product we are producing, like the avocado oil, like the fish oil, we actually profile the nutrients to understand what is in there. And we are producing prototypes for them so that they can then take them and use them. Again, when you visit our stall, you're going to see wine from purple-fleshed sweet potato. You're going to see beer that is produced from cassava that has been developed by NARO. So there are a lot of opportunities, not only in the food industry, but also in the industry for manufacturing.
Thank you.
I want to summarize
Thank you.
by acknowledging some of our partners. I want to acknowledge USAID Feed the Future project, which has supported us to do this work, the EU Dino project, Koika Veggie Seed Project, and JICA Pride Rice that have greatly supported us to do the biofortification and value addition work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Can clap for her, please go ahead. Very good. Professor Kaya of Makerere. You realize that all she's talking about is being affected or can be affected by food safety challenges. And I know you are the lead consultant on the strategic analysis that was conducted for food systems transformation in Uganda. And I saw your game changer matrix, and the biggest responses went to having food safety challenges in the country. So how is this limiting our competitiveness as a country? And someone talked about us. You are the one, you gave a challenge that we should incorporate actually these interventions in the coming plan, the NDP4. So what should we write in the plan?
Thank you very much, Mr. Grace Bwenje, the moderator. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, once again. The issue of food safety is a serious one because, as I said, if it is not safe, it is not food. And we are not here to actually poison the population, but we want them to eat good food. And the foodborne illnesses, can be over 200 that have been actually reported, ranging from diarrheas to cancers. As for example, recently reported about aflatoxins causing liver cancer, serious liver cancer. Some of these, compounds, especially the chemicals, can, bind the important nutrients in the body, making them unavailable. And of course, even during, sickness, when somebody's metabolism is not working properly, it means that some of the nutrients will not be available for the body to utilize. So bearing in mind, therefore, that we have got handlers, food handlers, as Dr. Kundo was talking about this morning, who have messed up the food. People's more, degradation is a serious problem in this country. People are using all sorts of materials to add to the food, formalin, transformer oil, adding cassava to milk, etc. So you wonder whether actually people have brains or not. I think we need now to work on that, first of all, to make sure that our people understand that what they are doing is actually wrong. Awareness, the consumer awareness is very, very important, of what they're supposed to eat. This afternoon, people ate, for example, groundnuts from that Ruombo. Did you know what the groundnuts contained? We trusted the system. Not so. Yeah, but you never know. Because if you go to the areas where they process those groundnuts, which are both processed, the groundnut flour, the pastes and whatever, you actually wonder whether how we actually survive sometimes. So the inspection is completely gone. People are doing their own, whatever that they want. The food control, system in place is completely broken down. So we have got very good policies, we have got very good laws, we have got very good standards. Actually, over 1,400 food standards from UNBS. But who is aware of those standards? Who is actually practicing them? Very few, especially the private sector, maybe. So I think we need to see the food actually, system working. We need to see simple appropriate technologies being available to our farmers, because most of the contamination starts from the farm. Because they are drying produce on bare ground, claiming that they don't have a means of, drying off the ground, drying faster, If there could be simple technologies of the, improvised dryers, including salt dryers, which are actually, affordable, I think the cleanliness of the food could actually be, established. Now, the hygiene and sanitation, which is a very good preventive measure. Cleanliness. Are people washing their hands before they touch the food? These street, street food vendors, what is their level of cleanliness? How are they handling the food? Are they sorting? Are they separating? Are they cooling the food in case it requires the cold, chain storage? I was informed that the people who sell or offers bienda, they normally put it on top of the roof at night and then take it, down, in the morning and continue selling. So is that the system that we want? I think we need to go beyond this, and this should actually be practical. We need to come out and talk about these things which are actually happening rather than just keeping quiet. So I think that's very, very important. Training is key. Can we have at least a training like how Dr. Fundo was talking about of these, food handlers, so that they know that what they are doing is actually not appropriate. So I think those are some of the issues. But then also the containers which we use for example, processing our food. Look at those who are processing, milling groundnuts, those are milling maize flour. If you heard about the Nakanyonyi case where over 200 pupils were poisoned by food, it was actually the maize flour. It contained the metallic particles which are got from those, the mills, the hammer mills, which wear and tear. So it poisoned over 200, pupils. We are lucky that actually they didn't die. So I think all those should actually be looked into. Can't we actually now, provide those equipment at subsidized, prices so they can be actually achieved? So those are some of the issues that I think could be actually handled, and even many more. That's why I decided I put, one of the most important game changers as addressing the issues of food safety, within the action tracker number 1.
Thank you very much, Prof. You can clap for him. Please go ahead. I was fearing to stop you because you taught me in class and you continue to teach me. Professor Muyanja of Makerere. UNIS highlighted in their next activities for UNAP, they plan to put in place post-harvest handling equipment. And then also Professor Kaya highlighted in Action Track 2 under sustainable consumption that we should manage food waste. But what we don't know, this animal in the room, how much is there in terms of food loss and waste, and what could be the mitigation measures?
My name is Charles Muyanja from Makerere. People usually call me Professor Muyanja, but I don't usually do that. Sometimes when I'm talking to people who are not professors, I don't say it. But when the professor is there, I say it. Why I don't do that? I don't want to be made thinking. Because sometimes people think that professors don't know everything. But sometimes some don't know anything. Yeah, that's a challenge. That's why I say my name is Muyanja Charles, so that I can get a lot of information from other people, and then I become a full professor. Yes. So thank you very much for the question. Actually, the area is talking about is so wide. You cannot do it within even 10 minutes. But just to tell you, there's enough food for everybody in the world. But that case is not like that. I'll give you a scenario here in Uganda. You have a lot of matoke in the Western Uganda, but people in Karamoja die. Why is it like that? Is it a food insecurity? Or is lack of food distribution? Which is which? Sometimes you know the answer. But again, when it comes to the real food we produce, for example, you have your small farm, you plant and grow maize there, and you expect maybe 8 tons. But at the end of the day, you can get the 8 tons. But when you reach the market, you find you have 6 tons. You ask yourself, where did the 2 go? Sometimes you may not know where it has gone. Maybe it has been stolen, which is unlikely but possible. And maybe also during the transportation, maybe your truck goes down, some bags they spill over. Automatically the quality has been what? Lost. You can't pick them. That when you leave. Maybe during the storage, some is eaten by the pests. That one you sort and throw it away. So there are many challenges when you look at this food supply system that we have food loss and food waste. Occurring may be concurrently, but we don't know. But when you look on the side of food loss, it occurs basically in the production system and also during the time when you're harvesting. Even when you're using your wheelbarrow to take your material from the farm to the household, there's some kind of loss you incur, but you may not know it. And then also loss happens during the processing, manufacturing. And then maybe in the storage also, there's a lot of loss. Between those areas, and maybe when you are taking the retail markets, there might be some losses there. So food loss covers from production up to the time we deliver to the retailer place. But when the food goes the retail, maybe supermarket, then you start entering what you call food waste. But food waste is a dangerous thing actually. And I know most of you today have done it. Yes, people leave a lot of food on the plate. That's food waste. As I tell people that when you're going to eat the food, control the eye. The eye is the one which confuses the hand to pick a lot of food. But if you can control the eye, then you can say, I'm going to eat this, then the hand will pick that. Then you don't waste food on the plate. But most of the hotels in Uganda, there's a lot of food wasted. And that food actually, when you go back how it was produced, you have used the water during irrigation to produce maybe the vegetable. You have used the land itself. That's the resource. You have used maybe energy. That's the resource itself. You have used human labor. That's the resource itself. So all that is lost at the plate. But you don't think about it that, maybe I'm losing some hours somebody put in to produce this food. But those things happen. So food waste occurs from retail up to consumption place. At household level, I just give you simple things. At household level, you are 2 people, but you cook food for 5 people. I expect a visitor to come, suppose it doesn't come. That food is going to be wasted. So at household level, we lose a lot of food. Food is not wasted at household level. Actually, for me, I tell people at home that how many are we? I eat 2 fingers of what? Matoke, make 2. How many do you eat? 3. So they cook exactly what we eat. I don't mind whether somebody says the soup kusek. Then you can make more, isn't it? The same with the buffet. A buffet, you are allowed to go back and pick the food. But don't fill the plate with the food you are not going to finish. You are going to waste a lot of food. So wastage occurs at that level. So for me, is what I think about the person. The person, I look at the person is a major problem, the food. If you look at yourself, what you do to the food, you cause the losses. For example, if you don't invest in infrastructure for storage, automatically you harvest a lot, but you say, where am I going to keep it? Maybe you put it outside and cover it with temporary. But the light will come and enter, the rain will come, and that food is going to what? Rust. So there are some few things we have to do in the supply chain, which can help us. Another thing also which I've seen in Kampala, all of us, we are farmers, even me, I'm a farmer. The challenge you have is we produce the same stuff, isn't it? We are going to grow tomato, everybody grows tomato. At the bumper crop, everybody is taking the markets. The price goes down, the consumers are few, isn't it? So we end up losing a lot of tomato in the market. But suppose I say this area should grow tomato, another area should grow sugarcane, another area onion, and we bring things which are not the same in the market. I think we can reduce on the losses in the market. But nobody thinks about that. But it happens a lot. So The logistics, the transportation system we have in Uganda is also, we need to improve on it. For me, I prefer transport my material by a train. The train is better than the road, I'm telling the truth. No traffic jam, breakdown, maybe minimal. The line of a train will always be fine, isn't it? You don't find potholes and railway. Very rare.
Yes,
But now road is here. Every time the road is breaking down, the Matoke right on the way. So those are some of the things. And also another thing which I always think about, people should try to do some kind of modeling or forecasting. How much is demanded in a given area? You take exactly the amount of food in that area. Don't take excess because nobody's gonna buy it. So at the end of the day, you lose. When it comes to fruits and vegetables, all of us will have vitamins, isn't it? But sometimes these are perishable products. But when you look in the country, we have hot temperatures, isn't it? Transport them from somewhere, and they pick up, people are seated on it. The juakari is entering it. By the time it reaches the market, it's already spoiled, isn't it? But suppose we do some kind of refrigeration systems. I usually think about like in the milk sector, we have milk collecting centers. I think this can be copied to other sectors, whereby you have a fruit collection center, whereby farmers bring their fruits, you buy them vegetable, and then there's some kind of formal marketing. But this informal marketing is causing a lot of losses. Because here you are able to control the temperatures and so on.
yes, bro.
Yeah. Another thing which I want to tell you that God gave us the sun, actually, innovation. In those areas where there's no electricity, you can make the sun, design a cooler room, make sure that your fruits and milk are stored there. There are so many things you can do, but this is just a touch of the subjects.
Thank you very much, Prof. You may clap for him. He took advantage because he's my professor. Yeah, but that means I'm going to squeeze the remaining two. Especially the one from the private sector. This government is always squeezing them. Mr. Mutiaba, you are the lead. You are the president of the Sun Business Network in Uganda. I want to remind you about something. During a food systems summit, the dialogues, Dr. Antonio Guterres, Secretary General UN, told us that the private sector is actually the most important actor of food systems transformation in the country. So my man, you're very, very important. But now, I've been following stories of food fortification in this country. You, as the private sector, I'm very sure that you have constraints, but as well, there's something good you're doing for this country. But we are continuing also to see micronutrient deficiencies still high. You can talk to that. You may put your experiences to food fortification. I want to hear what you're doing as private sector towards food fortification in this country. I want you to show me the challenges you're experiencing to deliver the nutritious foods that we want on the market.
Thank you, moderator. My name is Godfrey Mutiaba. I was seated somewhere and they were calling me a priest, but I'm Godfrey Mutiaba. Moderator has talked about food fortification. Yes, we know that food fortification started in Uganda in 2011, and it started as a public-private partnership whereby the fortifying industries were doing it voluntarily. Then later, mandatory fortification came in effect. And as we are talking today, in private sector, fortification of wheat flour, which is produced, is mandatory. Even if you're producing 1 kilogram of wheat flour, you're supposed to fortify it. If you're producing maize and your mill capacity is more than 20 metric tons, you're supposed to fortify. And if your milling capacity for oil is 10 metric ton, you're supposed to fortify. As a contribution of private sector, as far as food security and nutrition is concerned, I'm proud to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that we have been fortifying since 2011 up to today. And I must use this platform to thank the entire private sector for doing this willingly and also ably. So, though we are fortifying and we have been fortifying for a quite some time, I must tell you that there are some bottlenecks or challenges private sector has been facing. I was listening to the moderator, he said that malnutrition is still a problem and persisting, but I must tell you that the private sector has done something as far as combating malnutrition is concerned, particularly in areas of fortification. But the bottlenecks which are mainly curtailing us from maybe achieving what we would have achieved 100%, one of them is relying on imported fortificants. Ladies and gentlemen, it's absurd that we started the fortification in 2011, but up to date, we do not have a local manufacturer of fortificants in Uganda. As such, we rely on imported fortificants, which are expensive. You can imagine, if I'm to give you briefly a business model, on a daily basis, fortification of wheat flour and maize flour costs 1.4, or on a monthly basis, it costs 1.4 billion. And fortification of cooking oil costs 2.5 billion. If you make a quick calculation, every month we spend 4 billion fortifying. But these 4 billion go out because we don't have any fortificant manufacturer in the country. Therefore, I implore Uganda Investment Authority, I implore Ministry of Health, Ministry of Trade, and other line ministries to think about this, and also the development partners to help us have this maybe addressed. Another challenge we are finding in food fortification, we lack demand creation. We lack some policies which can help our products to move very fast. There is a school feeding policy which has been worked on for long by the Ministry of Education, but up to now, it is not yet finalized. And I also think we should have a public or institutional feeding policy. So once we have these policies, demand for fortified products, demand for quality products shall be in place. And once the demand is there, then we shall also realize value for investment as far as fortification is concerned. And also, as we are talking right now, I must tell you that in the country, we do not have a laboratory which takes vitamin A and some vitamin A, folic acid, and some other micronutrients. As industries, we have been relying mainly on Uganda National Bureau of Standards, but for now they are not in position to test. We also got information that even some other private laboratories which were doing the testing are not in position. So as far as fortification is concerned, if we could address those bottlenecks, I think fortification in a country, specifically in industrial fortification, shall be augmented and thus improve the nutritional status of the country. Mr. Moderator, you told me to talk about only fortification, but as an industry, also we have other challenges, but the onus is upon you to give me another time to talk about those bottlenecks. I thank you, but before I conclude, I must make you aware that most of us here have our children at school in boarding section. And as a child stays in boarding section for 3 months, for 3 terms, and those are 9 months. If I say 9 months over 12 months, that is 75% times staying in school. But are we monitoring what our children are eating at school? Are we monitoring? Do we know what our children are eating? No. And in Uganda, if I'm to use specifically my country, a child to study from around P4 to graduate takes around 15 years. But you can imagine your child eating unsafe food for 15 years because we don't have school feeding policy. Because, I mean, we have many challenges as far as food safety is concerned. But I once again implore the Ministry of Education to do something, come up with school feeding policy, finalize it, implement it, such that we can have our children eating safe food. Thank you so much for listening.
I didn't have to remind them to clap for you. It was obvious they clapped. Even gives you some recommendations. But for 15 years, you policy makers, your children are eating unsafe food, and you know. Mr. Tenywa, your boss should have been here to defend you, but you're going to stand in for Mrs. Margaret Athieno. I know she has given you all the instruments to answer this question. You saw in the presentation of Madam Kamara showing how climate change is actually limiting the deliverance of nutrition sensitive activities. And then also it was Dr. Tugume, he highlighted how climate change is increasing the incidence of pests and diseases and very many other challenges that you know. At the NPA, we review some of your budgets, we review your reports. We've seen a lot of money coming towards your side across. So we're now in program approach, the money can go to MAIF, can go to water, and all that. And now, the interest of this meeting, what do you plan to do differently, especially in the coming 5 years of the NDP4? As I speak now, the levels of Lake Victoria are rising and all these challenges. So what do you plan to do differently? And what are you going to upscale? Because we are aware there are some good things you're doing. What do you want to upscale so that these people in this room can adapt climate change, but also mitigate its impact?
Thank you, moderator. I'm Emmanuel Tenywa. I'm here representing the Commissioner Climate Change Department. Good afternoon to us, or good evening already. Mr. Moderator, you raised a very important question, and I'm glad that from what I've seen here, most of the work has already been done. And it is clear to all of us
that climate change has the potential to reverse or even halt sustainable development within the country. But for the interest of us here, I'll pick out about three key things or actions that we can upscale to make sure that we tackle the effects of climate change on food and nutrition. Mr. Moderator, and to us all, as a country, we have a national climate change action plan. I've always moved somewhere and people have asked me, do we have a plan for the country in terms of managing climate change? Yes, it is there. It is phrased as the updated nationally determined contribution, or NDC, that has mitigation and adaptation actions that cut across all the key sectors within the country. And most of these actions have already been mentioned by most of the colleagues from Maif, from Makerere, and other presenters, which include scaling up climate smart agriculture, sustainable land use management, adaptive livestock breeds, and then also looking at climate resilient crop varieties. But I don't want to go through all those actions. I'll restrict myself to what needs to be done from here. Now, according to the National Climate Change Act, that is part 2, all lead agencies and districts must come up with a climate change action plan. And I'm glad here we have quite a number of district local governments. And I can ascertain to you, moderator and participants here, it's only 2 districts so far that have climate change action plan. And that is out of over 135 districts. So we still have something to do. Now, the other key thing that can be done, a lot of actions have been mentioned here. But then how do we make sure that those actions are actually implemented? So as the Ministry of Water and Environment, the Climate Change Department, and still this mandate is given to us within the National Climate Change Act, we issue a certificate of climate change compliance to all work plans and budgets, both for the programs within the NDP, but also to the district work plans and budgets. And then what needs to be really emphasized is to make sure that we build the capacity at the local level, because the impacts of climate change are cut across, but in most particular, it's the grassroots communities that suffer the most. Why? They are more vulnerable. They are not like me and you. They have less adaptive capacity. So we have me and you have the duty to make sure that we build the adaptive capacity and also make sure that we increase the resilience of our communities. Maybe lastly, what I can mention here is that managing climate change within across all sectors, in emphasis to food and nutrition, we have to take a whole of government approach or economy-wide approach. So me and you have the work to do. Mr. Moderator, it's not just the means of water and environment. As you mentioned, the money is not given to Ministry of Water and Environment. I've seen very many people come to us with proposals. That one I can assure you, we are all fighting for the same pot. As Climate Change Department, we do the coordination role and also offer technical backstopping. So, Mr. Moderator, I'll restrict myself to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tenywa. Give him a hand clap. Another one, please give him another one. There's a group there which seems very tired, but we are finishing. Quickly, I want to attract only 4 questions, 2 gentlemen, 2 ladies, and then not to me, but to the panel. Yes, 4 questions. Yes, number 1, 2, Those gentlemen are over. Oh, yes, the questions can also go to the presenters. So that means I increase another. Now it can be 5 gentlemen, 5 people, 2 gentlemen and 3 ladies. Yes, so the gentlemen are already over. Can I see the ladies? 1, 2, remaining 1 lady. Are you a lady? Yes, okay, okay. So you are the gentleman, the other gentleman I'm taking. Yes. So we're beginning here. Give him the mic. You indicate your name, where you're coming from, and to the person you're asking the question. There are 2 gentlemen there. Yeah, one is he was number 1. Okay, he can begin, then you give him.
Okay. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ali Walter. I'm the director for King of King Multi Investment and Consultancy Firm. I'm also the regional chairperson for SBN, Scaling Up Nutrition's business network in Acholi sub-region. I must appreciate my national chairs and all the panelists before us.
Straight to the
My
question, please. Yes.
Most of these nutritional food actors are private sectors. Government workers cannot sell this product. What is that you have in plan to empower the private sector actors, especially the SMEs, small and medium enterprise, so that they scale have the food fortification exercise? 2, I wanted also to put this to the profession. Last one.
One question, please.
Yes, last one.
One question, please. Yeah, please, because we don't have time. You have to go home. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm called Akenye Emmanuel. I am the regional chair for SBN Lao sub-region. I'm the chair for Lao Grain Millers Cooperative in Lango. My question is going to the doctor from Naro. A lot of the discussions has been about the deficiencies of micronutrients. And you have aptly stated that you have released about 6 crop varieties that are nutrient rich. But Doctor, you and I are aware that the uptake of these crops is very low. The orange flesh sweet potato has been in for a long time. The iron-rich beans has been in for a long time. So I am asking, have we done a deliberate study to find why is the uptake low? And if the uptake is low, is it related to factors that research can continue to fine tune? For instance, is it about the palatability? Is it about the productivity? Is it about market acceptance? Is it about its resistance to climate change, pests and diseases? Are they things that
Question is clear. Question is really clear.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Emmanuel. Where's get to that lady.
Good evening, people. Once again, my name is Dorina Mompire from Divine Organic Foods, and mine still is a recommendation to KCCA and National Water and Sewage Corporation, Madam Julie, about clean water and sanitation. Of recent, I was passing by Chisas. It had rained. I think it was on Tuesday. It rained a lot in the morning. And I saw, it was like 3 people. I have a video in my phone. I don't know how to share it. And then they were disposing stuff in the trenches so that they were utilizing the opportunity of heavy rain so that they can throw garbage in the trenches. And then when you ask around, what they tell you, because the charges of garbage are high, you get, that's why people fear. That's what they're trying to avoid. Then a recommendation to national water and okay, all of the parties, we should look at sustainable waste management disposal practices. You encourage, I don't know what project you can come up with, but then think about it. You need to find a way, either you reduce on the charges, because it's an issue. I have a video, I will find a way of sharing it so that it reaches the right stakeholders, but then it's a very serious issue that needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Find the other lady.
Thank you, moderator. Helen Nansumba, coming in from the National Health Laboratory Services and Diagnostics. So my question is more from the pest surveillance, but escalating it to use of pesticides in agriculture. So as we monitor the pests, who is looking at the pesticide use and also its relevance in the human health, and trying to understand what is how commonly these pesticides are used in different areas of the country and even in the water sources for the fish and other water or fish or water sources. So trying to understand its impact in human health, not only in food, but now in human health. Who is doing any work around that we can have this data? Thank you.
Helen, who do you want? That question is for who?
The first presentation, also Professor Kaya, and the presentation from pest surveillance. Any of the presenters can address. Thank you.
Okay. Is behind there.
Thank you so much. My name again is Bernard. As a nutritionist, I'm a little bit challenged, and I know my colleagues are also challenged. We are promoting vegetable consumption, fruit consumption, so that people can have access to these micronutrients you're talking about. But studies have also shown that so many of our vegetable categories that we have on the market are actually contaminated with agrochemicals. And the dietitians and nutritionists who are here, you know, that would be good if someone consumed the fruit or vegetable when it is still a little bit not overcooked. So the community is also challenging us. You're telling us there are so many chemicals here, and you're promoting us eating them. So what do we do? The Ministry of Water, someone was presenting on behalf of the Ministry of Water. Studies have also shown that there are agricultural chemicals in the water. And the community is asking, okay, the water has chemicals, the vegetables have chemicals, and you want us to eat them. So what do we do? That is something that we need to reflect on. Colleagues, there is a fruit and vegetable challenge going on. I hope that each one of you is participating. Cutters of Kamara Daniel. Thank you so much. I think Professor Kai and the team will be able to respond to how we deal with safety of the vegetables and the fruits. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernard, but you might join the exhibition team to pay the money that for that advert. Yeah, so my panel, you've had the questions. I think I will begin from the extreme end. Please just start answering the questions that they gave you. Professor, you are the first one to go. Answer everything they have given you. After you, Dr. Dorothy, Dr. Zawede, like that.
Thank you very much. the issues on pesticide residues, who is actually monitoring and what should we do? Because we are promoting consumption of fresh fruits and vegetables as very good sources of micronutrients. True. I think the gentleman from MAIF can answer about the monitoring, because at least what I heard from that department is that they are doing a lot of training of our farmers and also extension officers to make sure that they direct farmers who are applying excessive, pesticides to make sure that they follow the guidelines, the dosage that is quite often given. But my biggest challenge actually has been on the side of retailers, because like for tomatoes, you have seen tomatoes full of that chemical, the whitish chemical, which is actually Dithenium 45 mancozeb. Because the retailers demand that they must see that chemical on tomatoes, since they believe that it helps to extend the shelf life or service shelf life, which is actually completely wrong. Because that chemical, is supposed to offer its effect pre-harvest, before you harvest. So the business of these traders spraying tomatoes while they are in the boxes is completely wrong. So the retailers need to be actually, informed about that. So they should stop demanding, the diseases that cause, post-harvest, challenges are quite different from those that cause pre-harvest challenges. So I think that's very, very important. So while the ministry is putting emphasis on farmers, they should also go ahead and sensitize the retailers. And if you look at the recommendations that we have put under, the game changer, regarding food safety and regarding food safety, definitely we mentioned about the excessive use of pesticides and what the law should be, and the need for retooling the extension, workers about the use of pesticides. Because earlier on we had recommended about the position of a food safety officer at the district level, but then the structures cannot actually allow that. But we need that very, very, very much. It is indeed true. There's no way you're going to consume more vegetables when we are poisoning ourselves, at the expense of getting the micronutrients. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair or Moderator. I want to contribute to that. I want to encourage everyone here present that one of the strategies we can use to manage or to control some of the contamination is by us actually doing what we call urban farming or urban agriculture, where we, in our small plots, so in buckets or something, you plant some of what you have to eat. And the climate change team, as you're promoting tree planting, let's encourage people to plant fruit trees so that they can actually be able to manage what they are going to eat. We all have compounds. Why don't we plant fruits so that we can develop, or we can have, or we manage what goes on the fruits that we eat and what goes on the vegetables that we eat? We have cherry tomatoes, for example. Some of them are locally adapted. You do not need to use a lot of chemicals if you are growing them yourselves. And indigenous vegetables like nakati, buga, jobio. So let's try and consider that. Chair, I had a question on why there is little uptake of the biofortified products. I want to request Dr. Nkalubo to respond to that. So the person holding the mic, please give it to Dr. Nkalubo, who is the scientist that has developed the biofortified beans. Thank you, Chair.
Dr. Nkalubo, you are in the beans. I want to answer for sweet potatoes.
It's okay.
Okay,
No
very
problem.
good.
Thank you, Chair, and Barbara and the team. My name is Nkalubo. I'm a bean breeder. Yes, the uptake. I'll start with the sweet potato. You asked whether the uptake is due to a couple of things, and true it is. For the sweet potato, initially, I think it was due to the low starch content. And as a team, we've addressed that. And the varieties that are on the market at the moment have the high starch content and a bit hard. Initially, they were soft, and people didn't like the soft potatoes. So that had a little bit of issue. But the other is really things to do with the seed system that is available. For example, for the vegetative, is from farmer to farmer, it's a slow process really. And it also goes to the beans. We know our seed companies don't get a lot of money off self-pollinated crops. So accessing biofortified beans is problematic, especially if the government doesn't involve itself in this thing. So it's really to do with the seed system rather than the other things that we are talking about. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Private sector, answer that question they gave you.
Thank you, moderator. My regional chairperson asked what the government has done in order to help private sector increase nutrition agenda or promote nutrition agenda. I must thank the government of the Republic of Uganda through the Office of Prime Minister, Minister of Trade and other line ministries for establishing Scaling Up Nutrition Business Network, which we abbreviate as SCBN. Scaling Up Nutrition Business Network is a network which was fostered by government, and it is a network of private sector businesses which are dealing in nutritious food products. And this network has a strategy which was developed. A national strategy was developed by Honorable Minister of Trade, Francis Mwebesa. He launched it in 2023, last year in June. And the objective of the strategy was 3: improve nutrition, food safety, and the quality of the food, and also increase policy advocacy, as well as increase accountability among STAR's private sectors. This is a national document enshrined from National Development Plan 3 and also Uganda Nutrition Action Plan Strategy 2.7, which talks about scaling up nutrition in food industries. So I think the presence of this network, where I'm the national chairperson, and we are having different regional representatives throughout the country, I think this network will help us to see how we participate as far as policy advocacy is concerned, and also knowledge sharing as in terms of business to business is concerned. So that is what the government has done for us, private sector. I think me as a chairperson for Scaling Up Nutrition Business Network, I can respond to that. But on the same note, I wish to thank our development partners who have enabled this network to go forward. I don't mean the other go forward. Remember the other go forward is some years back. I'm talking about the go forward of improving nutrition. I must thank CARE International, GAIN, World Vision, USAID, UNICEF. I must thank all the government MDAs because they helped us, they established this network, and they are really moving us with advisory words and also support. Thank you.
Thank you. Father, here, this man has done your job already. Yeah, he has thanked all the partners. Professor Muyanja.
Yeah, thank you, moderator. I'm going to talk about two things. The chemicals you are complaining of. Sometimes I tell people eating food is a risk. You have to measure the risk. Because of the climate change, that's why you see spraying is becoming part of the agricultural system. And I'm telling you, are not going to move away from that. The challenge we have is how we do it. Actually, agrochemicals are hidden hazards. You don't see them, but they kill you, that is. And another aspect which you have to know that those chemicals, they bring food loss and waste, but not in Africa, but in European countries. Because those guys are really strict on standards. They measure a minimum required. People call it maximum residue limit. That's the amount which is allowed there. So don't complain so much when you eat chemicals in the food. There's a standard which control that. The problem, as we Africans, we go beyond. But there are people in Uganda who are doing a very good job. They control those levels and they're able to export to European markets. So how do we copy from them so that other farmers can do exactly what others do? That's the challenge. But eating food is risky. You have to measure the risk. And I think when, for me, I told you I'm a farmer myself. I don't advocate for chemicals because I know the problem they cause. It does not mean that you have to spray all the time. But farmers, when they see one crop is affected, they spray the whole farm. That's wrong. Why don't you just uproot that material and maybe incinerate it? You are safer. Recently, I grow the Ntula, the white Ntula. You know them? The Ntula, you know the Ntula? I never sprayed them, even a single drop. But they grew and I sold them. But when I take them to market, exactly what the Honorable Kai is saying, they say if you don't spray them, they run very fast. But I don't believe that they because they are spreading with chemicals. So we have to touch the mind of people. Even the consumers ourselves, you have a challenge to understand what we want. The moment you want tomatoes with those droplets of Dyson 45, the farmer will continue to do it because there's what somebody is going to consume it. That's why I say, as long as there is a consumer of a bad food, there will always be a producer of a bad food. With the consumers, you have a big say to cut the chain, isn't it? And now on the side of the sweet potato varieties, people produce a variety. For example, matoke, you know matoke. They did a lot of good work on matoke, big batches like this, but the taste was zero. Producing a variety of matoke to fit in a certain environment, it's like producing a vaccine. You don't do it just immediately and you put on the markets. It requires continuous research, even involving what? The consumer, the stakeholders. Because they're the guys you are going to test and say, this is not very good. Then you go and manipulate your biogenetics and say, maybe in APC will do this.
Sure.
You hate it.
Sure.
So involve the consumers of your varieties before you eject the variety in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. I think food is a risk. Measure the risk. Dr. Tugume, give your answer, please. You got a question. Then we give him a microphone.
Maybe one thing. It's a caution. When you fear chemicals in your fruits and vegetables, what you do, you soak them in salt water overnight, and tomorrow you eat a bit free. That's the only way you can solve that problem of chemicals in your vegetables.
Yeah. Thank you very much for giving me another opportunity. And thank you for the person who asked a question about pesticide residues. We use pesticides to respond pests. If there are no pests, there will be no pesticides. So that means the issues of pests and diseases need to be taken seriously. Going back to the question, who is responsible for regulating pesticides in our food? The answer, I will give you two answers. One, almost everyone has been responsible. Ministry of Agriculture is responsible. Ministry of Health is responsible. Ministry of Trade is responsible. Ministry of Environment is responsible. And because of that, for a very long time, no one has been responsible. Yes, that's the truth. Because as agriculture, when the food reaches the market, it is a tradable commodity. Okay? So trade is responsible. So in brief, the president, the ministry, they have noticed that the issues of food safety are serious. And that's why, despite the government going into rationalization, it has authorized the creation of the Food Safety Authority, despite the mergers, etc. But right now, the ministry is in final stages. The principles for creating a new authority responsible for food and food safety is going to be created. And it is going to be a responsibility of Ministry of Agriculture. So there is going to be a person now fully responsible for food safety.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Tugume. That brings it to the end of our panel discussion. Give them a final hand clap. Yes, I hand over back to Father Hilary to give the next.
Hello, Mr. Bwenje, there was a
No,
question.
no, I saw you, time has gone. You had a lot of elaboration. We shall continue the discussion, Madam Kamara, please. Thank you very much. Don't worry.
Thank you very much. We are touching a very serious topic. And if we are not careful, we will sleep here. But thank you so much, everyone, for participating actively in this last session, which has been very, very good. We have been able to correlate a number of variables, particularly pertaining to our topic, translating UNAP 2 actions, implementing status of UNAP 2 nutrition sensitive interventions in the agriculture sector. And we have been able to look at the role of agriculture in nutrition, the role of water in nutrition, the role of food safety in nutrition, and also the role of pests and diseases in nutrition. All these things are really part and parcel of us, and we have to just find a way of avoiding the worst scenario of how we can, of how they can either affect us, how they can affect us negatively. I'm just going to now lump together a few issues that you have raised. We have also now seen the progress and challenges in the implementation. This has been backed up very well by our presenters. They have backed it up with the data and evidence. We have seen a number of partnerships and collaborators in this whole, in this topic. We have seen challenges, big challenges, but also we have seen barriers in addressing these challenges. We have also had a number of future direction and recommendations. And certainly, we have all participated well in coming up with all these things. I'll just remind us of a few things we have also come up with. One, this word looks very simple, but it is very good to have these words repeated. If it is not safe to eat, it is not good. For me, I've got it. And I think my community will suffer. If it is not safe, it is not good. Then we have been encouraged from also Professor Kaya to upscale irrigation, to upscale the utilization of extension services. We have so many extension services, both in the government sector as well as in the private, in the civil society organizations. If we worked together and upscale them, I think that would be very good. He encouraged us also to do price control mechanism and also do what he calls sustainable consumption of the items we produce. When it comes to the presentation on surveillance, I think the core matter we go with is that pests and diseases have no borders, and each one of us must be an apostle. I'm using apostle because I'm used to apostles. You can tell. So we are told that there is no pests eradication policy. And so the presenter encouraged us, or encouraged the policy makers to formulate the pests eradication policy. When it comes to the contribution of water to environment, of course, the mantra is safe and clean water is the most nutritious food. That is our mantra for today. But also, we are encouraged in the promotion of agroforestry. So yes, the ministry does that, but also all of us are supposed to do it, especially those of us with some pieces of land. And also encouraged us to do the hand washing, which highly helps in food utilization. She said that there is going to be an environmental court, and we are looking forward to seeing that court functional and active. There is another issue. We are invited also to advocate for food fortificant industries in Uganda. So the presenter told us there are no food fortificant industries here. So we are called upon to advocate for that. And the responsible party, I think, will take it up. There is, I think also we are encouraged to create a laboratory in Uganda which tests vitamin A in our products that we grow. Also, those who create policies are encouraged to create another policy on school feeding policy. There is one more about food safety awareness, especially to the grassroots communities. People don't know about food safety. I was about also to ask a question. How do these people in the grassroots, the communities, how do they measure food safety? Some of them can't even measure. Again, one of the panelists proposed the certification of climate change compliance. I think that's another good one that we can go home with. And then also, the Minister of Water and Environment was encouraged to carry out sustainable waste management system implementation strategies. There is also implementation. We are encouraged to implement multifaceted food safety, food waste, food distribution strategy, right from production to the plate. The professor here told us about all those things. Also, we are encouraged to implement the food production zoning strategy. These things we have talked about even in the past. I think we are only reminding ourselves because some of these things have been coming. And as I conclude, we have been encouraged for us who live in Kampala and other urban centers to implement urban farming in our compounds to avoid use of products that are contaminated with pesticides, to train communities to control chemical use to the required standards, and also involvement of consumers in the production of biofortified products. There is one big problem, I think almost every presenter mentioned, is funding. I think that's for all of us to think about. Thank you so much. You'll wonder why Father Hillary is the one chairing this. We believe that a healthy soul lives in a healthy body. And if we priests run away from doing these things and supporting you and just tell you to go to heaven, we shall not find you there. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for choosing me to be part of you today. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. A big hand clap for Father, especially for reminding us how our souls and food come together. Yeah, thank you. I think we have come to the end of the day. So what I'm just doing is to tell you how tomorrow would look like, and then we see how to proceed from here. First, there are lots of videos and interesting things that have been captured. So they are going to be on the screen. So if you have a little time, maybe you are waiting for the jam to go down, you can still sit down and watch them. But also very early tomorrow, just before we start, they will be playing. Today was a packed day, and unfortunately, we didn't have enough time to show all the videos that we have. Tomorrow morning, please be early because the Prime Minister will be here. She will be coming to do the official opening of this whole week, plus a number of other dignitaries, including some of the development partners who will be speaking in the morning and also accompanying the Prime Minister. In the afternoon, we shall then talk about the point that Father, sort of ended with, which is financing. So we will be hearing from Ministry of Finance and others about innovative financing. So that's how, the rubber meets the road, as they say. So tomorrow afternoon, we shall invest time in not talking about how these things should come together, but also how we shall be financing them. But with that, we want to really thank you very much for all the work that you have done and for staying this long. But again, we want to request that tomorrow by 9 o'clock, we can kick off and make sure we don't lose time. Just Yeah. Okay, so they have also reminded me that there is an exhibition actually that goes with this, that has some very innovative things that was set up and it will be going on through this whole week. So please do also visit that, because these people have also invested time to bring their innovation so we can have a look at them. But with that, we want to thank you very much for coming today, and we'll see you tomorrow at 9.
At school, I have learned that you can make a garden on a small piece of land, although it's in an urban area. We can make gardens in different ways, like in pyramids, baby towers, and also in some buckets. You can use a bucket, you put there soil, you place the bucket well. Then after you put the seedling, you plant. Also, you can use sacks. When you get a piece of land, although it's in an urban area, you can put there a garden.
I can plant a tomato, take care of it, and I make sure it is grown in a good way, that I can also try to understand the disease or any pest that is attacking it, and I find a solution for it. Not only the young farmers members, but also the whole school. They always pick, like, let me say, like these tomatoes, they use it for frying the beans at school here. And also these other green vegetables, they always put in our food and people eat and we enjoy.
This project helps us a lot to learn more about food and nutrition and how we should eat the right foods. Children in our classrooms gain more energy when they eat foods which have these crops here. A healthy mind is a good mind for sure. When you are healthy, you can't fall sick. When you feed on a balanced diet, you are active, your body is active. Once a child eats good food, the brain develops quicker and faster. Children focus and we are performing better every day.
Because of the need for proper feeding, sustainability of feeding during the school, balancing their diet, not only the children, but even the teacher, this program came in really as a rescue for the school. Having these vegetables or these food additions in our meals, it is making the children already appreciate what we are providing them. And it is adding value to their meals.
When you go and look at the school gardens, we're actually telling people that space does not matter for you to be able to grow food that is nutritious to you. And the impact we are seeing is that when you go to these informal settlements or in tight spaces, people are now realizing that, oh, I can actually be able to convert this chikutia, what they actually say, seal it with soil and grow something.